COVID-19 caused unprecedented challenges, of course, for business across the globe. Now many face another challenge that is similarly beyond their control, and that is, of course, the supply chain backlog. Vincent Dixon is a partner of supply chain advisory practice at KPMG Canada. Vincent, great to have you with us.
Yeah, great to be here.
So let's just start here with the nature of this problem and what you're hearing from your clients. We know it's big, it's global, it's slow moving. What are some of your clients saying and feeling about it? How are they experiencing it?
I guess it's about preparedness. We have a lot of clients right now that are sort of reevaluating their long-term strategies and saying, how could we better prepare for something like this when it comes around again? And we're finding a lot of folks looking at things like digitization of information and a lot of other tools to help use. So, and evaluation of their full supply chain and saying, where are the gaps? What can we do better next time around? So, we're in this and we seem to be coming out of it in 2022, but there'll be a bit of a new normal there. So, we want to make sure that our clients are protected and that they're doing the best they can with the technology that exists.
One of the things that makes it such a fascinating problem, Vincent, is that we have a very distributed supply system from point to point. There are many different players now, which you could argue should offset risk, minimize the risk by distributing it. In this case, it shows that it creates a domino effect, and even one small piece of it going down has a ripple effect. If you're a business that is now experiencing the difficulty of a bottleneck or stoppage, where do you point the finger? Because there would have been people along the way. And I'm thinking of, the container company that decides to ship something else because it's more lucrative or send containers empty back to China to get high volume business. They must have known they were creating disruption. Will there be kind of finger pointing so that we can go back and kind of forensically examine what went wrong here?
Yeah, well, hindsight's 2020, and it's difficult to go back at this point and say, well, you should have been able to predict this. I've been in supply chain for 30 years and I've kind of seen the evolution of it. And, it wasn't that long ago that the bottom dollar meant everything. And, and that drove some decisions in an organization. They could buy things a little cheaper from areas that were perhaps a little bit more of a risk, geopolitical or a lot of other reasons. So it's really kind of turned things around now to say, okay, well, rather than purchasing cheap, how do we mitigate risk? So how do we find products and suppliers and processes that kind of drive down our exposure to these types of events? So that's really key now. And that's the future of supply chain and where we're going.
So it seems to me that given that we are a country full of businesses that are a truckload or a train load away from one of the world's biggest markets, this is an opportunity. Do you think Canadian businesses are jumping on the opportunities that might be presenting here, where before we were competing with low-cost supply from, that we had to come by boat or by plane?
Yeah, you got it. I mean, so many of our clients and so many businesses in Canada are doing that. KPMG recently had a survey out that indicated 85% of small to medium enterprises are investing in technology. And that's really key to this discussion. Industry 4.0 is the next industrial revolution, so to speak, in data transformation. And there's so many great tools out there that are available for companies to use, like blockchain, digital twin. There's, where you can run sort of simulations for new products rather than having to build models. So it's really opened up a new world. So it's kind of interesting that, as difficult as the pandemic has been to navigate, there's nothing like a good crisis to help you reevaluate your priorities. And here we are. And a lot of organizations are looking back. And now supply chain is starting to show up as a risk on, at the C-suite and at the CEO level and saying where perhaps it wasn't before. Years ago, it would be, it's not a big problem. We just order material and we order more inventory if we have a problem. And people, they didn't really look at the fundamental kind of causes of some of their issues. And now that's turning around. So it's an exciting time to be part of supply chain because it's really starting to be recognized the value that can bring, and not just from purchase price, but intrinsically all through the process.
Yeah, it certainly is, right. And kind of in terms of the risk management of your business, are you surprised at how long it has gone on since this has been a problem that was identified? It actually seems to be worsening in some ways. Yeah,
I mean, it's yes, it's taken a while. I think we all feel that in our own respective lives, But again, I watch this, and it's kind of an interesting time when I talk about the intersection of technology happening at the same time. it's really accelerating supply chain, technology right now. That's what it's doing, and companies are embracing it. They're coming to us, some of our clients, and how can we do a better assessment, and how can we make sure that we're prepared for the future? And as I said earlier, and they're building these in, and whereas this may have taken 5-10 years to evolve under normal circumstances, but because there's such a spotlight on supply chain right now, it's bringing us to a new level. So there will be a new normal when this is done, and the companies that are embracing these technologies are going to have a serious competitive edge in the market.
One of the things that I've been curious about is whether anybody who is modeling, and there were people doing this, the effects of a pandemic, actually modeled this. And we did actually have this was foreshadowed, right? In the credit crisis, we saw factoring affected deeply, and therefore parts of the market. Now, it wasn't as broad-based, perhaps, but there are definitely parts of the market where credit was implicated, and it had huge impacts on shipping. Were people warning, if a pandemic comes, you're going to see a shutdown in global supply chains, or at least an interruption?
I don't think it was that. Again, it's that crystal ball kind of thinking. If perhaps the experts were out there and they were saying it could come, but it was more about the health effects than the supply chain. I think that's where the difference sort of came in, is that the cumulative effect of people being at home and really the purchasing shifts of the general public, and what that's done to certain commodities and certain items that are difficult to get. So I think that's really the key, and perhaps in all of these studies, that's the little piece that in the supply chain side that really wasn't evaluated to that extent. So that's a bit of a surprise. We knew the kind of impact of a pandemic, so to speak, like we could predict people and illnesses perhaps, but not so much. Certainly not in supply chain, and certainly not in we're going to be running out of computer chips because of this. Like that, I don't think anyone had that type of foresight. But this is the opportunity to learn, and this is the opportunity to reset your supply chain and to be able to do some predictive analysis. And we won't be caught like this again.
For sure. And meanwhile, how long do you think we're caught like this? What's your best guess on how long this continues?
Yeah, I mean, the general consensus is through 2022, perhaps Q4 of 2022. But, that's kind of the general discussion that a lot of these items are, it's going to get better, of course, but it's going to be incremental. And it depends on what industry you're in as well. It's not a one size fits all kind of issue. But I would say we're not out yet. We've got a little ways to go into 2022.